Hello, my name is Barry Walsh, and I'm the owner of Buffalo Barry's Indian Art, along with my wife, Valerie Wedge. I'm going to provide a brief history of Hopi Katsina carvings. I'm going to start with a disclaimer. I'm an Anglo, I'm not a Hopi. I know a lot about Hopi culture, having visited it for over 30 years, but I'm not an insider, and that should be emphasized. The earliest Katsina form that occurs in wood is called a putskatihu, or a cradle Katsina. These are given to Hopi children, especially girls, but all children, infants at birth. And this is the figure given at birth, Hahai Wuti, the grandmother Katsina. This one dates to about 1900, so it's quite old. And it is the simplest of Katsina forms that are still made to this day. This is from the phase of carving that I refer to as early traditional. This dates to about 1890. Very simple carving. This is Crow Mother. These represent crow wings on the side of her head. Her garment and her feet are very simply carved. That was characteristic of these carvings from about 1890. The later traditional dolls began to be standardized. This is called the bellyache position. Often the hands were like that, not carved away from the body. Feet simply carved. Painting simple also. Almost shaped like a clothespin. Very, very simple. You may, and this was from 1920, you may wonder at the orange color on it, but that was a very popular color in 1920 styles on the Hopi Reservation. They were obtained commercially, those paints. So, early traditional, late traditional. This doll is from the 1930s or early 40s. Notice how the arms are starting to be projected out. More detail on the boots, the sash, the foxtail on the back. Katsina carving is moving in the direction of more detail. And this would be called an early action figure from the 1930s or early 1940. Also, more vibrant paints that you typically saw in the dolls from the 20s. But you see a big leap, don't you, in dynamism with this Hu, or whipper Katsina. There are remnants of his yucca whips in his hands. This comes from about 1950. Notice the body posture, legs are bent, arms fully extended. Much more motion and dynamism in this carving. Late action figure. You can see that from this to this, there's been a huge change in articulation and movement. This carving is from the 1970s by William Kotskiva. It's a hilili, or guard. What you now have is the beginnings of ultra-realism, I call it. This beard on the face of the hilili has been carved with individual striations on his beard. This sash has carved the fringe on it. And you can see much greater level of detail. That's where Hopi Katsina went, starting in the 70s, especially in the 80s. And that particular tradition continues to today. Very elaborate, finely executed Katsina carvings. That's why I call them ultra-realistic. But then something happened very interesting in the 1970s. There was a reversion to the old style, called the traditional style. And the man that initiated it was Manfred Sasunkawa. And notice that this carving has hands in the bellyache position. Very simple feet. The body types are the same as the 1920s or even earlier. And this particular figure, as you can tell from the horns, is a Wakas Katsina, or cow figure. What we have here in a very short discussion, it could certainly be greatly elaborated on, is Katsina from 1890. This one I bought from Manfred in decade 2000, but he's been making them in the same style since the 1970s. So we really have about 80 years of Katsina carving development represented in this short talk. And we're going to conclude this talk now. There will be others in this series talking about Hopi Katsinam, famous carvers, and other types of Indian art. Thank you for listening.